morning, good evening, everybody. Thank you for joining our webinar. In about 30 seconds, we're going to start. So good morning, everybody. Thank you for attending our webinar. My name is Nikos Christakis from Multipoint, and with us is our partner, Enrique Serrano from Delinea. Good morning, Enrique.
Morning, Nikos.
We'll be presenting Delinea and why an investment in PAM is your best bet to combat cyber attacks. So in today's agenda, I'm just going to talk about 2-3 minutes about Multipoint, and then Enrique will take over, present Delinea, then straight into the focus of our subject of today's webinar, and then we're going to have a Q&A session. The whole duration will be under an hour. Everyone will be on mute, and please send questions anytime. Let's make this interactive. So let's go. So for the ones who may not notice, Multipoint is a regional distributor, mainly of IT security solutions with headquarters in Israel. It was founded in 2009 by Ricardo Resnick, and we have offices all over the world in Israel, Greece, Romania, Turkey, Estonia, Middle East, and Singapore. We're working with a big variety of partners, and one of our key partners is, of course, Delinea for password access management. And we have a large team of pre-sales and post-sales engineers who are ready to support your needs, your customers and our partners. So as promised, I kept it as short as possible, Enrique. So I'm just going to grab my coffee and I'm going to hand it over to you. Okay. Are you ready to go, buddy?
Thank you very much, Nikos.
Great, I'll stop sharing.
Okay, here I go. Okay, so you see my screen? See my screen, Nikos?
Yes, we can see your screen. You're ready to go.
Perfect. So I'm starting right now. Thank you very much, Nikos. So my name is Enrique Serrano. I'm sales engineer here at Delinea, and I'm going to talk today. So why not taking care of your privileged accounts and privileged access can end up in almost obliterating all your security strategy. And well, you can see here, these are the Gartner top trends in cybersecurity for the current year. And the number 2 is just identity and system defense. So basically, in summary, privileged access. So privileged access, privileged identities. So those are the source of many cyber breaches. Sometimes we will see later, but this is not our main focus in order to set up our strategy. So Gartner established this identity system defense as the number 2 trend, and as you can see here, they state that the misuse of credentials is now the primary attacking vector. So most of the attacks, as I said before, are based on this misuse of credentials. You know, any user that have access to something that you should not have and can provoke a security breach and then lateral movements and ending up in a great chaos. So Gartner uses, as you can see here, ITDR as identity threat and detection response to summarize all the tools that there is in the market to defend identity systems and how Delinea works with it. So you can see here Delinea is named for a number of years as a leader in the Magic Quadrant. So Delinea is the result of the merge of Psychotic and Centrify. The merge happened around almost 2 years ago, and Delinea started working as a new company at the beginning of 2022. And basically, the merge of these two companies, Psychotic and Centrify, created a very good solution portfolio under the name of Delinea. Psychotic, or Gartner, as Gartner describes the privileged access management business, it is divided in two great businesses. One side is privileged access and session management, which we cover with a secret server solution. I will explain it later. So Psychotic was the leader in this part of the business, in PASM, privileged access and session management. And on the other hand, Centrify was the leader on privilege elevation and delegation management. So both, they have different portfolios, which together create the best comprehensive solution in the market that covers the maturity journey, the maturity journey in the PAM business. So we will see. So why Gartner makes and focus so much on the identity management? And as you can see here, 80% of the breaches involve the use of credentials, privileged credentials. As I said before, with one user that is not currently protected, and if this user gets compromised somehow, all the organization can be compromised. So as I said, 85% of the cyber attacks also access the company through a compromised endpoint. In addition to that, and what we have been talking with our customers is like when they have a cyber attack, it takes around 90 days in realizing that they are being under attack. So imagine that the attacker is in the organization, inside the network for 90 days, moving laterally and taking the information he needs, doing whatever he wants, without being noticed for almost 3 months. So how the PAM has evolved during all this time. So at the very beginning, PAM was very focused on admin users, admin and certain servers which host all the critical information. So, but that was some time ago, where the perimeter was clearly defined, and we have very specific users to cover. Right now, the perimeter has gone beyond what was the corporate network, and more users has more access to critical information and critical environment. So that leaves us in a situation where we need to protect almost every user that is accessing to the corporate network and the information. So now we can set that the perimeter is the identity. So that's why we need to protect right now, instead of having a very defined perimeter. So this is what we call right now extended PAM, in which we not only cover the traditional perimeter inside the network, and just the admin users and the high-end servers. Now we have external users accessing from outside the network, from a third-party company accessing or information, our system. So we need also to take care of these third-party users. We have people from not IT guys that they don't have to understand IT complexity, and they also have access to a very sensitive information. So we also need to take care that these accounts are not compromised, so they cannot exfiltrate unwillingly, but they exfiltrate information. So also machine-to-machine environments, scripting, non-human identities. I mean, all these scripts that are running in the background can also be compromised and can have access to different information, different systems. So we need also to take care of these non-human identities. So as I said, this is our vision on how the new PAM should be. So these 3 points are the main pillars of what our strategy should be with regards to high privilege credentials. So you can see this 3 points. So prevent, identify credentials, establish control over the privilege. So we have all under control, and we find out all the credentials, all the identities we have in our environment, and also limiting the elevation of these identities so they can just access what they need to access for the business, and only during the time they need to access this information and these resources. And we can do all this stuff through policies and automation. So as I said before, this is the PAM maturity model, what we call also the PAM journey. Just have a look, and I will ask you to ask yourself honestly, where are you in this maturity model? Are you already using some tool to protect your identities, your user, your passwords? Or are you using just a free application which you store under a password all the users and passwords that need to access to your high sensitive environments? I mean, at this point, if you are in this what we call the phase 0 or high risk, and this is the danger zone. So you need to start the journey. I mean, you are at very, very risky in terms of having some accounts compromised and gaining access to whatever environment through lateral movements in your corporation. So first of all, well, in order to do the journey, to take just the first step to go ahead, and then phase 1 and the foundational phase 1 is just gain visibility on our attack surface. So we need a tool that help us to find and have visibility on all our accounts and all our systems and points, everything that is running inside our network. So once we are able to identify everything that is in our network, then we collect all the users, all the passwords, and vault them. So we take all these and we keep them safe and sound under an encrypted, vaulted, protected by a password, and no one can access it. So once we have this, we are able to audit who is accessing what. I mean, before you had, let's say, for example, this tool where you get into the tool and get the password for whatever system you wanted to get access, but you were unable to audit who was doing what. In this case, during the phase 1 foundational, we already have all this information, audited, and protected. And we go one step ahead, and what we do is just automate the rotation of these passwords and credentials. So we ensure everything is under control and fully compliant. So from the moment that we achieve to accomplish the phase one, we are able, as I said, to have all the users and all the credentials, users and password under control, and then also rotate under the policy we consider. I mean, we can rotate weekly, monthly, depending on how critical the environment is. So if we want that after a user logs out from the system, the password gets rotated. So no one knows in real time what the password is for this server. So all this we can do with one of the solutions, in this case, secret server. So once we have this achievement, that will be the phase one, we can then move to phase two. And in this case, what we do is just we call enhancements, and we focus on the identities. So before, we have already put some order in our internal mess, and now we focus on the identities. So we focus on providing just-in-time access for the users. So when we have discovered everything, we establish that depending on who is who, then can access to different environments with different privileges and can do different tasks. So with this, what we do is just eliminate the admin accounts. So no one will access to the environment with, let's say, full power of the inside the environment anymore. So right now, the user will access the environment with his user account, and then if he needs to run whatever task he needs, he will be elevated for only the period of time he needs to run the task. Why we do that? Because if we allow the customer to elevate it for whatever task he wants to run at this moment, the user is, say, the admin of the environment and could do whatever he wants. So what we do is just elevate it for these tasks. Imagine that he wants to remove some files, and he needs to do that. So he will be elevated only to remove the files. Once he finished, he will be de-elevated and become a normal user again. So we prevent for this user to do other stuff. It's not allowed. So, and once we have all this, we move to the phase three, the adaptive one, in which we introduce some artificial intelligence. We analyze the behavior of the users. We take control also, as I said, to the non-human identities, and we also control the life cycle of the accounts. So, based on what we call privileged behavioral analytics, we create a baseline of behavior. So, if a user that has already defined baseline of behavior connects and start doing things that get out of this baseline, I mean, he's accessing information he's not accessing before, he's connected from another location or different hours, that will trigger an alarm. So the alarm can be just as simple as notifying the admin that something is happening, and can also go just to disconnecting the user to prevent what he is doing in case he's not behaving as to expected. Also, we introduce this control on the accounts, so we can create temporal accounts for projects, and once the project is finished, the account will be automatically erased. So we don't get into the situation when we have dozens of accounts inherited from the past. No one knows what they are used for, no one knows the purpose, but no one is able to remove these accounts because they don't understand what these accounts are doing. So these are the as I said, the journey, the maturity journey, what we expect to the customer to adopt with the time. And these are basically the main challenges that we need to face. So the challenge one, and is what we have seen before, different users require different security policies. So this can be achieved through policies through dynamic policies. So what we do is just adapt what the user can do based on the role. Databases administrators do not need the same access that as system administrators or web admins. So let's tailor these profiles so they only access what they need to access. The challenge too. So we don't know if our users are running or trying to install rogue apps. So in this case, we can prevent the user from installing anything. So again, based on the policies, we decide that only a very reduced small of admins can install applications in the environment. So by policy, we can dictate that no one else can install anything on the environment. So again, we prevent users for doing unwilling mistakes. Challenge 3, the users run applications that require admin privilege. So once we identify what application needs this admin privilege, is what I said before, we just elevate just in time this application. So the user is running with his normal permissions, and by the time he needs to run anything that is already defined with admin privilege, it will be transparently run for the user. So he doesn't even realize that he's not an admin. So in his day-by-day operations, everything will run as before. So challenge 4 is that they need to run programs that they are not yet allowed. So by this, what we mean is that they need to run the latest versions of some application, something that we haven't tested yet. So we don't know if we can sanction these programs, or we need to block them. So at this point in time, what we can ask the user is not blocking the execution, but asking them why they need to run this application. So we can just filter this information and take decisions on that. So the user will elaborate. I need to run this because this is a new version or whatever, and then the admin will allow them to run this application. And the last challenge, and this is what can provoke some lateral movements, is that the users mistakenly belong to another groups. So we are also able to set up by policies what users should belong to certain admin groups, and if they are not in these admin groups, automatically add them in the admin group, or the other way around. Also, I mean, if they are in some groups they do not belong to, they will be removed for this groups. So so far, and this is a summary of what we have been up to here. So the solutions we cover to help our customers to face this PAM journey. One solution is just what we discovered in 14. As I said before, this is the phase 1 in which we need to discover our network mesh and start putting some order on it. Elevate and enforce, and as you can see here is what I just explained. So users that need to run application privilege then will be elevated transparently. Other ones that will be enforced to run some other policies. So we have everything under control. No one does anything is not allowed to do. So this in any environment. So it doesn't matter if this is on-prem, it is on cloud, or it is an hybrid environment. This solution will work seamlessly in every environment. So we can have half of the environments on-prem and another on the cloud, and we will use the same solution, the same dashboard to manage all of credentials. So we don't need to use niche accounts for the cloud, niche applications for the cloud, another for on-prem. So everything is the same tool. So the user experience in terms of the admin is just the same. And the last one, security the sensitive code, as I said, working with non-human identities, DevOps operators, scripting, and this AI to anticipate the issues. So Secret Server is one of the solutions. We have been so far. This solution establishes the vault. This covers all the unknown accounts. It's the one that delegate access, manage secrets, and control sessions. So that's give us the full visibility in our credentials and makes us fully compliant by having total control and auditing who is accessing what. We are able to control the sessions, as I said before, by almost even rejecting the user if we consider their behavior is not what they should be doing, and also recording the session for further analysis. So what we call server PAM capabilities, and in this case, we are talking the next step, elevating and delegating. So when we take care about identities, before we were talking about credentials, now we talk about identities, what I've been saying before. Users not doing what they are not supposed to be doing. And these solutions will be server suite and cloud suite, and the main features, as you can see here, is identity brokering, just-in-time and zero standard privilege, MFA, and remote access. So by identity broking, so this solution would do is just unifying Unix and Linux environments with 80 Active Directory on Windows environments. So we unify the access, and the users from Active Directory can log into the Unix and Linux environment with the Windows users. So that give us the chance to have everything under control, being able to audit in everything, and we don't need different users for different access, which give us or drive us to lose visibility on what we are doing. This it's also for on-prem and cloud. So it's difficult to export the Active Directory and other directory tools to the cloud. So what we do with Cloud Suite is just managing all this access with the cloud identity providers. It's the Azure Directory, Okta, or whatever we have. So as I said before, we use the same solution to run everything regarding credentials and identities. The just-in-time and zero standing privilege. So this is based on our zero trust strategy. Same in cloud, same on premise. So from time to time we lose perspective when having our data center or applications in the cloud, and we lose this perspective. We don't know who is doing what, and it's complicated. So with these tools, Server Suite and Cloud Suite, we are able to handle both at the same time with the same visibility, and also export the same policies. I mean, we have the user that have some privilege on-prem, and we need to have this very same privilege on the cloud. We don't need to recreate the wheel. We can do the same to export our policies and do the same way. So MFA, and this is another measure of protections, and this is an experience we are having with some customers. Integrating MFA with accessing in Linux and Unix environments is very complicated. While with a Windows environment, it's quite straight through because Windows is integrates better with all the MFA. Doing the same with Unix and Linux environment, it's much more complicated, and sometimes projects are almost unfeasible due to the technical complexity. And we will see later some examples in which we integrate with Server Suite MFA during just-in-time access. So this is another layer of security, not only having the user with some policies predefined, so we can do, but in this case also it is trying to elevate the user to run some command, then he will be challenged for an MFA just to ensure that he's the user that we expect to be typing in the keyboard. So we have this multi-layer security. So we'll see. If MFA, the number of breaches would be dramatically reduced. And last, remote access. So as I said before, many times we have a bunch of third-party users that are also identities that need to access to our environment. So we cannot have a VPN for every single user from the vendors. So it's very complex. We cannot create one-time accounts and then remove them, giving them full access to the network. So one person and access through the VPN is compromised, then you will be in completely free, compromised computer or endpoint. So what we do is just through cloud portal, we give them access, just-in-time access, as a mix of all these capabilities. So the user will access through the portal to our environment with a very specific user. And imagine that is a fiscal technician that needs to access one environment to upgrade the software framework. So he will be able only to connect to this environment during the period of time we have previously decided to do this task, which is install a firmware, nothing else, nothing more. So if for whatever reason this user have been compromised, he won't be able to move laterally or provoke any security incident. So this combination of capabilities, MFA, just-in-time remote access, we maximize our security. I will be a bit faster just to show you some example and give some space for questions. So Server Suite and Cloud Suite, these are these both solutions, and as I said, they both consolidate the identities, help us in order to move towards zero trust strategy through implementing this privileged access. So both in on-prem for Unix and Linux environments, and also for our cloud environments. So both enforce MFA, as we can see here. So not only during the login time, but also during the elevation moments. So we will ensure that everything is under protection. And both improve our compliance posture. So we are completely sure that we are maximizing our security posture and reducing our capabilities of being breached. So why MFA? And at this point in time, and as I said before, most of the customers that has experienced this security breach, you can see here 4% of the organization experience any kind of security breach. So most of them conclude that if they had some kind of MFA during the operations, the attack would have been reduced dramatically. When probably we couldn't avoid the attack to happen, but the consequences and the movements of the attacker would be completely reduced. So with this MFA, we are able to prevent the attacker to move inside the organization. So, and how do we implement the MFA in our Delinea technology? So we can see here very graphically and what we call MFA everywhere. So first of all, during the login session, at the time of the login, we can integrate and request the MFA. So this is the very first and basic layer of security. The second, when we start a remote session and the user connects to a server or is going to retrieve some very sensitive information, at this point in time, we can also request the user to be challenged with an MFA. So we ensure that even if the user has been compromised, he is not able to go beyond. Also, if the user wants to retrieve a password, that would be this secret reveal. Before seeing the password, we can also request an MFA. And this is regarding credentials and secret accesses. Regarding the servers or Unix and Linux, we can also request this MFA during the login time. But again, going beyond this, what is very visual advantages during the elevation. So, and this is where the complexity comes, and we make it very straightforward and very easy to integrate this. During they run any command, and they will be challenged for an MFA. So obviously, we are not doing MFA in every single command, every environment, but for those environments, those information very, very sensitive and critical, we have the possibility not only to request the MFA in login, but also when accessing the very, very sensitive information. So with all this, we will cover and maximize our security posture. So beyond here, I want you to show some examples on how we work with MFA. So, and this one, and it's very, very basic. That will be the first step. In this case, the user is logging into an environment that is already under server-side control. And as you can see here, is asking for different types of MFAs. We integrate with all MFAs in the market. So we have our own MFA that we integrate with. If you already have Okta, Authenticator, whatever you have, and complies with the NFC of the MFA, we will integrate. So you see here that the user is going to request a challenge for the MFA. Once he puts the MFA, he gains access to the environment. Well, this is a simple one. So in here, what we are seeing is just requesting access on a granular operation. So we go one step beyond, not only requesting the MFA at login, but requesting the MFA during a very sensitive operations.
For our Linux friends, Enrique?
Yes, for everyone, absolutely.
Yeah.
So in here you can see the user is doing an SSH connection. So he has also, during the password access, is asking for multi-factor authentication, not only the password. Once he gains access to the environment, he will try to run a sudo operation, and she is not allowed to do the sudo. He's trying to open the 86 and his user is not allowed. So what she is doing right now, and it's the magic of this, is that a solution replaces the shell with a special set of commands. So sudo won't be allowed anymore for users. And keep in mind that you are not accessing this environment as a root. You are accessing with your normal user, your Active Directory user. So you have a very restricted set of commands to run. Sudo is not among them. So, but you are allowed to run specific commands and be elevated. So in this case, you need to use our server suite shell to run this command, and this DC2 is just replacing the sudo command. And you will see when it's trying to run, he's asking for the password and multi-factor authentication. So once she responds with the right multi-factor, she will have access to the etc and shadow information. So with this, we can also do the policy of the protection, as I said, the other way. I mean, we can have a very or not force users to have a very complicated password and rely on them for the security of the company, but living there with an average password, not very complicated, but once they are inside the environment in the system, and let's say the risky area, is when we ask them for the multi-factor, we ensure that no harm can be introduced in the environment. So this was for the sudo, and here we have just granting just-in-time access for certain applications. So we have here the example in our Windows, and after that we have the same example for Unix environment. So he wants to run for a very specific period of time, and he's also requested to provide an explanation on why he needs to run this as a PowerShell administrator. Once you see here, once we request this access, the admin will receive a notification. He will allow or deny the user to get access to whatever resource they requested, and the user will receive a notification. This is we can configure it as the user will receive an email or a pop-up from the server suite agent, whatever we decide in order to notify the user that the access has been granted. And as you can see here, it's the very same procedure, but for Linux and Unix environment. So there is no distinctions. Same for the both. In this case, you see, it's trying to elevate the command. So it's different from before. And in this case, the user needs to request and provide an explanation of why he needs to run this application or accessing this file and for how he needs it. And this is it. He gains the access to it. So just as a summary, all this PAM strategy, identity approach, and security is just to match your security posture and your security strategy. So we based everything on these zero trust principles that never tries and always verify. So we based our solutions in these three main pillars. So everything should be run with the minimum privilege. So in case something happens, and it will happen eventually, the impact will be minimized. So that's what we need to implement and have in mind all the time in order to prevent and minimize these security disruptions. With this, I finish the presentation. I give you some minutes in case you have any questions, but keep in mind that privileged access management is much more than just having your passwords safe and sound. Those way beyond. Thank you very much, and now I'm open for questions.
Exactly. Thank you very much, Enrique, for your insights and your presentations. Of course, it's very important. Yeah, let me just share my screen as well. Great. Yeah. So we need to start by protecting our identities, and Delinea is definitely the right tool to protect your identities and from the rest of the threats. Great. So you can see here, if you have any questions, we'll just wait a couple of minutes if someone would like to ask something else. There's my email on the screen. It's nikos@multipoint-group.com for the attendees from Greece and Cyprus in Europe, but you can also reach out at info@multipoint.group.com. Great. I see no questions, but hey, you know how to reach out to us. Enrique, thank you very much for your time.
Thank you, Nikos. Thank you.
Oh, let's see. Great. Have a great day, everybody. Bye-bye.
Thank you, everyone. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.